Big merry meet to everybody. Today I want to talk about divine timing. I've touched on the channeling process in my last video, and that works hand in hand with the channeling process. And also, I want to clear up a little bit of misinformation that is floating around out there about empaths, intuitives, healers, people with these types of profound divine gifts. Anybody who's been following me knows that I've been talking about doing a video on inner shadow and inner child work, which I absolutely want to do, but it's still not done. And this is going to lead me to my first point about divine timing. Even though this is something that I felt is crucial, especially for this week, and I've wanted to get out there, I've actually had an inner monologue going on about this video and can see this video mostly in my head. But I have sat down to record it multiple times and something has stopped me every time. Every time. Today, no different. Multiple times I've wanted to record it. But when things repeatedly stop you from doing something, that is a huge sign normally. It can be either a test to see how bad you want something and if you're going to push through regardless of what obstacles are given to you. Or it can be a case of the time is not right and the universe is just trying to pull you up because a piece hasn't landed yet. So I had a moment a little while ago where I was just like, oh my God, I just want to record the damn video. And then I had straight away come into my head, but it's not the right time. And this divine timing concept of the fact that for me, perhaps a piece hadn't clicked in. There's something that just hasn't come up so far. But at the same time, I know that it's not like you have to wait to be given things by some divine external source, some deity or entity is going to meander on in and drop that little truth bomb on you. That's not how it works. All of the information is already stored inside you. Everything that ever was and ever will be is inside. So technically, if we want to know something, we only have to turn inside. Sounds easy. We all know that's not how it normally works for most people. So I know it's not like I'm waiting to be given the next piece. What I'm saying is everything is unlocked within us in a very specific order, very specific times before we even come here. It's said in many beliefs that these things are already chosen for us, but also it's a beautiful game. Your triggers are hidden along your path to strategically bring this information to the surface, not give you the information, you've got it, but to bring it to the surface. So that might be something as simple as, next Tuesday you're going to bump into that one person who says that random thing that gives you an aha moment and unlocks the next piece. Or that song on the radio that comes on gives you the next piece and unlocks the next piece. So it's learning to trust that all is revealed in the right time, not given in the right time. That's a huge, huge difference. When I had the moment of, okay, something isn't right just yet, as soon as I acknowledged that point, it was like floodgates open. This happens often when the ego can step back from something that you think you personally want to do and you have that moment of release and surrender. The next thing comes through. You create your own block a lot of the time from what is trying to come through. So because I was getting fixated on this idea of I knew I just wanted to do this video on the inner child work and inner shadow work and how the ego gets into that. But that was the problem, was I was thinking it, I was wanting it, I wasn't letting it all flow. So when I finally let it flow, I had a few more ideas that just like smacked me in the head, like, no, this, and this, you've got to get this out there, this needs to be shared. And one in particular that came through today, as soon as I had that acknowledgement of, okay, now's not the right time for this one, it came through with such a sense of urgency that I knew, okay, that makes sense. Now I know why I haven't locked into today filming that video that will take ages to then edit it all on my computer that's being a cow and take up the rest of my day and get distracted with work stuff and everything else that I have to do. Now I know why it didn't go that way, because somebody right now needs the information that has just unlocked within me. I'd even consciously, not so long ago, started thinking along these lines, and it happened a few times, but it wasn't with such a sense of urgency. So today, when it comes through, it's like, whoa, I've got to get my butt into gear and get this stuff out there. So that's what this video started as. Now, what I want to clear up, this moves on to topic number 2, which is to specifically address and clear up some misinformation that is out there. And this is quite intentional. Especially towards the end of the year, I started seeing this doing the rounds on the internet, that people that identify as an empath aren't necessarily gifted. It's not a profound gift, it's a learned coping mechanism and the sign of a wounded person. The things that I saw relating to this went on to explain how empaths are really just children that had a lot of wounding and trauma in their formative years, particularly from parents and our immediate influences at that time, and not even necessarily to them, but most likely they lived in a household that was somewhat volatile, or they had one, if not both parents, that would get into arguments, or they were used to someone around them that was basically very explosive, and they learned to pay hyper attention to the situation as a form of self-preservation and survival. And I can see the thought process behind this article. There was a time where that would have been a little bit more relevant, but even that I still have to disagree with. And hear me out. What came through to me was that these gifts, what they deemed as survival mechanisms, were really gifts, legitimate gifts of, let's call it empaths 2.0, especially now with the shifts and everything happening. The people that are incarnated on this planet right now that identify as empaths do not fit into that reality I just explained, as plausible as it sounds. And it sounds plausible because most empaths have experienced this. But it's not because of that they have those gifts. They're not learned behaviors and psychological responses. As shitty as they can be, those were the training grounds. Those were the triggers implanted in their lives to activate these gifts. And they've likely had a few lifetimes where these gifts remained dormant because the situations weren't there, the divine timing wasn't right, that these things needed to awaken, relevant to everything happening right now. So in this lifetime, which most people on this path, spiritual, occult, metaphysical, whatever, know that there is somewhat like the feeling of a call to arms. And that's not going to sit well with everybody. I know there's a whole bunch of people, love and lighters, that directly oppose language like that. Language that seems to perpetuate the idea of war, violence, negativity. They generally don't even like the terms spiritual warrior, which I have to not so generally say is avoidance, not a topic for this video. But that call to arms that has presented to many of us is directly related to the current shifts, to things that are happening in the background, like what I spoke about in my last video about stuff being weaponized and used against us. I'm not talking tangible, physical, real world weaponization and that war conflict front mindset that people are in. because the situations have been created for that. The distractions in the real world are there for that. What I am talking about is the fact that there is psychological and spiritual warfare happening, that there are strategically placed people with very specific gifts, very much on purpose, to help with the process that is in play and has been in play before any of us even took this incarnation. So it's true that a lot of empaths have had backgrounds where they've experienced some sort of trauma enough, particularly in their formative years, that has created this hypersensitive individual. But I pose to you that that is not somebody with a learned psychological response and survival mechanism coming from a victimhood mindset, but that person had situations in their lives specifically designed to wake these skills up. Also, as many of us know who are those empaths and have had a particularly darker journey, we are normally the ones that then go on to have a greater role in the doing part of this ascension, not just the experiencing, but we're here in service of others, not in service of. There is nothing wrong with being in service of the self when it comes to working on your own personal and spiritual development. It's something that we all need to do. It's not something to be shamed. It's not selfish. Just like self-love, self-care, not selfish. That's to happen. But there are some people specifically that have it harder. Their tests are harder. Their lessons are harder because their role is bigger. Because they're here to help. Because they are here to inspire. Because through those struggles and darkness, they can connect to more people. So before that person is dismissed who identifies as an empath because there is a very specific programming out there now that has been specifically designed to dismiss these people, then maybe we need to ask why they have been instilled with what does it serve ultimately. It's not self-preserving as much as the science would have us believe. Now, as has been the case for quite some time, the media has always been the biggest control weapon to the masses. And more people have woken up to this. Thankfully, more people like myself don't even watch the television, do not follow the news, read newspapers, don't open up their Google newsfeed. They've gotten off the doom loop. But one of the big tactics of media, when there is some truth or something really profound happening that affects so many people, they need to counter that. And tactic 101 for countering that has always been to discredit that. And that's why conspiracy theorists have become a thing. And anybody who uses those words like it's a bad thing needs to do a little bit of research as to where those words come from in the first place and how they were first used and why. There's some big clues in that. So it's not surprising to me at all that empaths have become part of the firing line for that approach. Because right now, it's the empaths that are making real waves and the biggest impacts on people, even over traditional routes of big pharma and systemized, trained textbook fields. It's the people that can actually feel the energy and know what's up that are really starting to reach through to others, especially when we're at this precipice of people wanting the bigger answers and turning to alternative resources because what they've been served just isn't sitting well with them anymore. People are starting to understand just instinctively because divine timing, it's the time for that feeling to arise and wake up with them, but they've started looking elsewhere for these answers. And they're at a point where they're more open people who we identify as empaths and gifted, the intuitives. Quite a lot of these people, and I know myself, can tell you that they have always experienced what we would know as the unseen world or elements of it. It way surpasses just picking up the energies of the people around them because they're in that survival mindset. No, a lot of these people are really grounded and centered and actively healing and involved in the community, have an amazing outlook on life, wonderful families. You wouldn't look at them and go, oh, you're just in a victim mindset and just too sensitive. No, a lot of these people you turn to and go, wow, you're really inspiring. I wish I was like that person. A lot of people that fall into that category have had experiences that surpass what can be dismissed as sensitivity to people and situations around them. A lot of the time, we are proficient, even if not fully in control, in many of the what's become dubbed as the clair senses, clair audio, clair sentient. So it's not just a generalized sensitivity. A lot of us have visual experiences. A lot of us have seen spectres, have experienced very tangible presence of disembodied beings or other entities. A lot of us have been given visions or have downloads come through and are open to transmissions that the science and everything else just can't explain right now. But they all know it exists. So I'll get to an expanded video on this. And I know that at least getting this part out there frees me up to do my inner child and shadow work video, if that's how I'm guided. But there's someone out there that had started doubting these gifts they know they have and have always had, because not even just the popular media, mainstream media, even social media has started telling them that's just because they're sensitive. It's just because they're wounded. You have a gift, and now is the time to embrace that and stand in your power that you are given to share with other people. You are here at a specific time for a specific reason. And I want to see you standing in your power, owning these gifts, honoring them, and looking a little bit deeper into things like very seemingly plausible explanations given to experiences that you know go beyond that. With anything, whether it's from mainstream media or social media or Joe Blow down the road or even me, do not try and make any of that fit your experience. Do not let any of it change your experience or your perception of yourself. Always take it in. Be open enough to hear it, even if it's something that you outright disagree with. Hear it and be open enough and non-judgmentally hear it. Don't shut it down straight away. Then take it in. Say, does this idea sit with me? Does this feel right? Is this my experience? Take what works, let go of what doesn't. It's as simple as that. So now, over to you. I want to hear if you've had any doubts of your gifts and how you actually first discovered your gifts. Did you have these sorts of experiences that really brought out those gifts for you? I have. You're not alone. It is a common path, like I've said, but they're not the reasons why, they're the triggers. So let's start setting the record straight on something that is truly profound, divine, and bloody amazing. Embrace it. We need to correct this. Anyway, I think you're awesome. And I want to see you feeling just a little bit more empowered because you know what you've been given is purposeful and because you're strong enough to honor that. And when you're fully in your power, you're going to help so many people. Blessed be.